Little Western Engines. Dear friends, remember the last book written about the engines of the Little Western, but the title was subjected to Oliver? Well, thanks to the publishers, we are able to write about our friends on Duck's Branch Line again with the title Little Western Engines. Sincerely, the author. Twin Trouble. Donald and Douglas nearly always work together. They are practical, peppery, and proud. One day, Donald and Douglas were puffing through the Little Western, delivering a long train. Down the line, Willie the farmer had been struggling with a big cart of hay. Crossing the tracks, one of the cart's wheels had broken off. Then Willie heard a whistle. "Oh no!" Willie cried and jumped clear. Donald could see the cart. "Stop!" he cried. Donald's driver applied the brakes, but Douglas still pushed Donald straight into the cart, crunching it into splinters. Hay flew everywhere. Donald's wheel hit the wooden cart, derailing him. He landed in a big bush close to the line. Luckily, his crew jumped clear and weren't hurt. "Stop being pushy!" Donald snapped. "Didn't call me pushy!" Douglas snapped back. "You shouldn't have pushed me into the car," Donald huffed. "You pulled me, you mean," argued Douglas. "Did it? Did. Did not. Did. After a while, the tracks ahead were cleared, and the Caledonian twins set off once more. But the twins were so cross that they refused to speak to each other. The next day, the Fat Controller needed an engine to help Edward on his branch line. "May I go, sir?" asked Donald eagerly. "I only need one engine, not two. But I am only one engine, and I like to work with Edward." The Fat Controller was surprised, but agreed. Oliver was confused. "Won't you miss one another?" "I'd know I'd miss Isabel and Dulcie." "I'll work better on me own," Douglas sniffed adamantly. "I have work to do," Donald huffed and steamed away. At first, Donald enjoyed working with Edward. Soon things started to go wrong. Donald met Edward at the harbor on the tail end of his branch line. "Edward, I have to take a train to Lilsworth. Did you shunt me trucks into the other line?" Edward was confused. "You said you wanted them on the other line." Donald groaned. "Not the other line, the other line." Ugh. Dougie would have known what I meant. Meanwhile, Douglas was busy working on his own. Even though he didn't want to admit it, he was starting to miss his twin. That night, Donald came back from taking a goods train to Brenham when he saw Douglas at the yard. "I was just passing by, and have you come to say you're sorry?" barked Douglas. Donald was surprised, but still cross. "I got nothing to be sorry for," he grumbled before trying to fake sleep. The next day, Donald was still in a bad mood. Edward saw Donald was getting too close to buffers that led to a ditch. "Look out!" he called, but it was too late. Donald felt ashamed. "Oh, this wouldn't have happened if I was working with Dougie. Edward, please get help." Edward hurried to the next station where Douglas was shunting. "Donald's in trouble!" he cried. "Donald in trouble? I'm on my way!" Douglas came to the scene of the disaster, and with strong cables, Douglas struggled to pull back Donald to safety. "Thank you, Dougie, and I'm sorry," Donald sighed. "No, I'm sorry," Douglas replied. "I'm sorry," Donald argued back. "You two don't need to have a row about who's sorry," chuckled Edward. "Just be glad you're reunited." And with that, Donald and Douglas couldn't help but laugh. The twins were reunited again.